If you were to ask us, did we ever think we'd have 50 employees? No. Did we ever think we'd have hundreds of clients all over the world? No. I never thought I'd be working with like publicly traded companies.
There was a point in time when I would have never believed this would be our reality, but here we are. And our new office on 126 West Bridge is home. One of the greatest things that can happen is when you meet somebody that shares a passion with you. He was working for a digital marketing company in Florida, but building up clients here in Idaho. And I was working for the morning news.
I mean, I was young, 22 years old, newly married, and Katie and I were working on like a community project that frankly I didn't have time to do, but my uncle was in charge of it, so I felt like I needed to help.
You got to realize, like, he's this 22-year-old kid, right? And
I don't know if I was falling asleep or if I was just like looked super stressed, but Katie could clearly see that like wasn't in it.
One of the most pivotal moments of my life.
She like literally chased me down the parking lot because I'm sure I just put my head down and I'm like headed to my car.
And I was like, you know what?
You're super busy. You're extremely stressed out. I love what you're doing, and I think that, you know, there's just something our area needs.
And I'm like, you should hire me.
And she was like, I just think you should hire me.
And he was just like, you're right. Yeah, I should. It all started with this idea of believing in big things.
When we look at this move to this new building, it really is just because of growth.
And just started to work, and we looked up, all of a sudden, you had 10 employees, and then you had 20 employees, and then you had 47 employees.
We literally just cut a hole in the wall so that you could go from this side to that side, and we added, you know, about 2,000 square feet over there of space so that we could have more room to work.
Our old building was kind of crappy.
They complained about things starting on fire when they plugged them in.
There was no hot water.
Really crappy.
Everybody laughs about the day Michael's in his office and I poked a hole in the ceiling.
Just like
Buckets of water.
Our old building was super crappy. I'm just kidding.
We laugh about how happy we were to outgrow this space, but there was a point in time when we were really happy to move into this space.
It's true.
No, I just think it was just too small for us, and I don't think it fit our company's personality.
Late 2019, Katie and I started to realize that that couldn't be our home forever, and we really needed to get in a more permanent space that was more comfortable, had better amenities, and really like captured our vision for what the business could be. We looked at buildings to try to find one that we felt like would fit our needs.
And then we started to wonder, geez, are we gonna have to leave Blackfoot, you know? And we looked at Logan, we looked in Texas.
But I just kept feeling like, and so did Katie, that Blackfoot's home.
When finally we walked into 126 West Bridge.
I frankly was like pretty skeptical when we walked in this place because of the shape it was in and how it had been vacant for so long.
This place?
But I started to realize this was enough square footage and the bones of the building were really great.
Then, you know, you start thinking, is this a reality? Is it possible? And we had to be sure that we had the right contractor on board.
Michael and Katie have both been a huge proponent on trying to keep business here.
In 2015, it was the first time that Google called and said they wanted to come to Blackfoot. Big time pinch me moment. Google had started a Premier Partner Program, and they basically handpicked some agencies that they thought were taking really good care of clients. We were on the short list.
And we felt like we kind of arrived, and as we were finishing up, he had asked to go visit some of our clients here in Eastern Idaho.
Michael and I looked at him and we were like, yeah, we don't have any local clients. And he's like, what do you mean?
Like, you don't have any like local clients? And we just had to be like, well, we have a few, but not really any big ones. It was really hard to get business at Eastern Idaho. But when I talked to a company in New York or LA, those deals came easy and they were larger.
Like, we thought that was a good justification. He didn't buy it. He didn't buy it at all. And we started to pipe in again with, but they don't believe you can be from Blackfoot. And he was just like,
pretty much word for word is that we had a moral obligation to help businesses here in East Idaho.
and they said, don't you think they deserve top tier marketing? Of course, we thought they deserved top tier marketing. And they just looked at us and said, then what are you doing about it? And that moment changed us. Because we had said, like, you can be from a small town and do big things. And we believed you could be from a small town and do big things, but we believed it in a new way now.
We wanted, one, to give back to people in our community because, you know, that's really at this kind of the center of the business is we believe you can do cool things here, and using local contractors was a big deal to us.
We've been so blessed every step of the way that we were able to work with Rod Albertson at Timepiece Homes.
We built in what I think is one of the hardest times to construct a building. We stayed on budget. We completed this whole thing in less than a year.
Well, most of the time when someone brings a project like this to you, you're like, are you sure? You sure you want to take that on?
You know, this building had massive issues, water damage, asbestos. You know, the floor was completely falling apart.
And they did. I mean, I think they have a love for Blackfoot as much as I do, and they wanted to help rebuild the downtown area. They were 100% in on it.
And who made that possible is the city of Blackfoot, helping us with an urban renewal grant to be able to basically get this building to the point where we could actually start construction.
And once we were in here and we knew the Bureau grant was going to come through, then things just took off. We demoed 125,000 pounds.
Even at this point, I remember sitting here, right here in this spot with a shovel and broom and scraping up old linoleum flooring in here. And
4 dump trailers parked here that we fill up every day, 2 or 3 times a day for about 2 full months, just hauling them back and forth to the dumpster.
When we toured these other buildings like Google, New York, California, Chicago, I would talk to Rod about how awesome it was and how I wanted to try to find a way to make that here. So I love that there was lots of collaboration space. I love that there was places for people to bring their families and eat. So I love that there are lots of conference rooms. I love some of the cool things.
When Michael told me he wanted to put a putting green upstairs, I was all for it. The meditation garden, that was something new. Working with Michael and Katie has been awesome because they're not scared to be different.
We knew we wanted something as part of this building that tied the old and the new.
Yeah, so I had a lot of fun trying to find the old newspaper clippings of like what this place was. The building was originally built in 1909. It's called the Blackfoot Mercantile. So people would come bring their like milk or their eggs and cream or whatever they had to trade. The Mercantile would give them credit, so they'd give them like a coin and they would use it to buy shoes or clothes or like oranges that would come off the train, you know, stuff they couldn't get here in Blackfoot. The building evolved. It became owned by the Church of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints. They put a ZCMI here. And then in 1939, J.C. Penney purchased the building.
It was really important to Michael and Katie to keep some of the history of the building.
If you look over my head, you'll see these really cool old wooden beams that are original to the building. You'll notice that there's some char on there from a fire that occurred here years ago. In 1944, some guys came in and robbed the building. It was a J.C. Penney at the time, for over $1 million worth of merchandise. And to cover the tracks, they lit the building on fire. You may notice that these beams look familiar, and that's because they share the same foundry mark as the river bridge here in Blackfoot. Just another example of us trying to preserve the history of this really cool building.
Not only is Blackfoot important to our community, to our people that work here, Blackfoot has a history for each of us personally. There's this big spot right when you walk in on a wall, and we knew we wanted a mural there, and we thought we want something that really depicts Blackfoot.
That's the first thing I noticed when I came in, so you gotta tell me about it.
Yeah, it was the first time an employer ever made an investment in me outside of work.
She digitally designed all of that between her drawing pad and her computer. There's a lot of attention to detail.
And when we told her we wanted this mural,
I think it was excitement mixed with, oh, how am I going to do this? The painting took 149 hours. There are over 60 layers.
People walk in and it's just wow.
we wanted the history of the building with the vision of the future all combined into one. And I feel like Jessica putting on that mural for us was the exact perfect combination of that.
The biggest honor was being able to be a part of Katie and Michael's memories.
When we say we elevate people and businesses, she's the perfect example of it.
Yeah, I feel like this new building totally represents Katie and Michael's hard work and their vision.
And I think it's really fitting that we open this on our 10th anniversary.
I think that we spend so much of our lives at work, you should like where you're going.
When we talk about moves, I've been part of multiple moves.
Let's head to the basement.
But the thing that's always come with us in the move
This is where all the real magic happens.
is the hustle.
Welcome to the bullpen.
Something that most businesses don't get with their agency is a level of care and concern.
But I love the energy that we have here.
It's so cool to see from where a client starts to where they're at now, and it's rewarding that we were able to help them grow their business.
So the most important work we do here at Get Found First is elevating people and businesses, and that's what we do every day.
And that might come through digital marketing, or that might come from some consulting, or maybe that comes through just passing on a referral.
I love now that the best team has the best place to work.
We had a Get Found First and Spot On solution touch to it, and I think that's what makes this building awesome.
Yeah, it's a demo. In the ergonomic world, that's the best way for somebody to really try chairs and really see what fits them.
And I told him to choose a beachy blue for me, so I'm excited.
It's a good group, but there are a lot of different opinions.
This is the one. This is the one.
Food order? Oh, there we go.
So I sit on like the front of my chair and lean forward all day long. And it has this back support that can move with me as I sit in the chair.
A tradition that started in the last office that we were in was the gong.
In the old building, when we rang that gong, like people jumped and the whole block could hear it ring. And you know, somebody just closed a deal.
You know, it's kind of become a joke, and they're like, another one? And so it's become kind of a fun way to do that, and this is not to lose that kind of lighthearted, fun piece of what we do when it comes to sales. The things that we've been able to do over the last 3 years, and when I look at this move, that's really what it symbolizes for me, is we're on a rocket ship and we're ready to take the next step.
To me, the combination of making the Inc. 5000 back to back on top of, completing this remodel and having a home, we're not just on to something, we've built something pretty great.
I definitely never imagined where we are when I first started, and so it's gratifying to be here.
The fact that we can work with the types of clients we do from Blackfoot, Idaho just blows their minds. 10, 15 years later, you can look at it and say, I'm still here in the community that I love. Doing what I love is a huge, huge success for me.
I want people, when they see Get Found First, they think those are people who do big things.
I love the idea that when you drive down Bridge Street at night, you see the lights on in here, and you start to believe you can be from a small town and do big things.